Gets open for three. Dagger!
The kick in, here it comes. Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books.
Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions. You like that? You like that? I like that.
You gotta like that, right?
My approval ratings keep going up.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business.
Welcome into Defeating the Curse. The long winter is over. The show has returned. Stevie on mic 2, FP on mic 3. There is breaking news in and around Washington, D.C., and that's where we have to start. We will probably end there as well. Carson Wentz is headed to the district to be the face of the Commanders as early as
Joe, he's actually headed to Dumfries. He's headed to Dumfries.
Dumfries, Nokesville, Hyattsville,
Woodbridge,
somewhere.
baby.
Yeah, I'm all for the Woodbridge. I actually don't hate the Sterling idea either, but we can't talk about location right now, all right? We have a name, and now we have a quarterback. At least we think we have a quarterback. I don't know if you guys want to talk directly about Carson Wentz first, or if we should talk about what happened in D.C., in and around D.C. the last couple of days. I think we should start there. Wentz coming is a big deal. It's obviously breaking right now as we're kind of coming online here and coming on air and kind of talking through it. But the events of the last couple of days, I think, forced the Commanders' hand here into, is it Commanders or Comms? I don't know what we're going to call these guys for short. This is going to be a huge problem moving forward. But
the
last couple of days,
World War III is already happening.
Well, let's not get too far into that because that's actually a really big problem right now. But the Commanders, they were limited in options given what happened over the last couple of days. Aaron Rodgers, after all the belly aching and complaining and the wishy-washiness and the back and forth, ultimately decides to stay in Green Bay. And who's going to fault him for taking on, $50 million a season, 200 total over 4? I think the actual number is 157 guaranteed out of a possible 200. So who's not going to take that offer? But it really turns into nothing. He's going to stay exactly where he is. And I believe they're going to tag Devonta. If I'm not mistaken, I can go back and double check that, but I think he's going to get tagged and will end up staying there as well. So Aaron's no longer available. Next, everybody shifts to Russell Wilson, right? What's it going to take to get Russ? And I want to put this out there too. These guys all have no trade clauses. So it's not just about the package that the team has to offer. The Commanders would have to offer to Seattle or to Green Bay or to Houston, because there was still Deshaun Watson talk up until about 30 minutes ago. These guys also have to waive and basically approve the trade to Washington. And it sounds like now, 24 hours removed from Russ joining the Broncos, that the package that DC offered was more competitive potentially than what the Broncos had offered. But it was one of two things. Either Seattle didn't want to trade him in the division or in the conference, which makes sense, although I don't think anybody really thought the Commanders would be challenging or really get in their way over the next couple of years. But that's a side issue. More likely is they went to Russ and said, do you want to go there? And he just, could you blame him for saying no? Like, would anybody fault him? Like, who would, like, if these are your two options, and on one side, FP, you've got, the AFC West with Mahomes and Herbie and Carr for the moment. And on the other side, you've got Dak or the NFC East, you got Dak, nothing, and Heineke, which, whatever. Can you fault him for not wanting to come here? You would think the path is significantly easier in the NFC East than it would be in the AFC West, but I think he ultimately just looked at it and said, team's too far away, name maybe is kind of weird, owner's a big question mark, I don't want to go there.
Well, not only is the path easier in the NFC East, but let's say he gets out of the AFC West, then you have Burrow and Allen waiting for you. Like your playoff path is damn near impossible. You're going against the best of the best in the upcoming QB class. And the fact is, Wilson took a non-owned team over Dan Snyder. The Broncos have no owner right now, and that is more palpable to him than Snyder. And that's all it comes down to. You have
so you think it was a Snyder thing? You think it was a team thing?
It's what Snyder does. You have terrible practice facilities. You have a terrible playing field. You have terrible fan base coming from the 12. You have just as crappy climate. I mean, nothing here from Russell Wilson's point of view is competitive outside of Terry McLaurin. That's it. That's the only shining star we had for him. Terry McLaurin, maybe he has respect for Ron Rivera. Everything else meant nothing to him.
Stevie, do you see it any differently? Do you think this was? I mean, do you think it was more of Pete Carroll and the franchise saying we don't want him in the NFC, or was it more of Russ saying I just don't want to go there?
No. I have it on good authority. Okay, I got my inside sources.
Here we go.
You know that. Okay, I won't name drop, but there's a certain physical therapist who took care of Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is a businessman. Okay, and he's married to a businesswoman. Okay, so don't forget he's married to a strong woman in Sierra. They made a business decision that is very, very smart and very understandable. Given what FP said. That, he made a business decision that Denver was a better place for him. And there was nothing that DC, the Commanders, could do to get Russ here. And that's why I want to pivot and congratulate the Washington Commanders on a wonderful decision today to get, listen, hey, erase the name. If I told you that the Commanders just traded for a top 10 QBR rated passer from last season with a 27-7 touchdown to interception ratio, you would be on the chair doing a standing ovation. Forget his name. And all they had to give up is 2 third-round picks relative to what they were going to give up.
The deal is great.
So congratulations. Why are we celebrating? I'm celebrating.
Listen, I never thought that there was a chance of Rodgers or Russell or even Deshaun, frankly, coming here. Like I never believed any of that hysteria around Aaron Rodgers is going to come. Why? None of those guys would want to come here, right? I mean, even the next tier down, like you're going to trade for Kirk Cousins. You think he's going to waive his no trade clause to come back to DC? It's not going to happen. So we were always going to be in the Trubisky. Wentz is he's significantly better than Heineke. He's a known commodity. His ankles are a little bit weak. He's the first guy in the history of the league to sprain 2 ankles at the same time. But that aside, he gives you a chance to be more competitive right away.
I don't know why FP looks disgusted at my congratulations.
So, what's funny is you guys are basing my reaction. Hold on. You guys are basing your reaction off my initial reaction in the group chat of utter disgust. And over the last 35 minutes, I think I have gone through 14 peaks and valleys about this trade. Where currently right now, as I stand, as of the recording of this show, I'm currently at a peak. I'm not opposed to this.
It's a good trade. This is a good trade. They gave up nothing and upgraded the most critical position on the field, and they had to do something.
Great trade.
And then Wentz name removed.
What was their other option? What was their
and that's why I'm at the peak right
your
now.
desk because drive me crazy. But Trubisky,
that's why I'm at the peak.
Yeah, like Trubisky isn't arguably that much better potentially than Heineke, right? And here's my frustration with this and how this kind of played out. Or this is just my perspective on this. You had a team in Washington parading around the league, going around. We're talking to everybody. We're seeing if Pat Mahomes is available. We're going to see if this person and that person, like, it's a charade. And then, frankly, I think it makes you look ridiculous. Like, I understand the need to be on the phone and working the phone. Like maybe somebody's unhappy. Maybe somebody wants to move up in the draft. Maybe somebody doesn't want to pay.
Speed dating.
Yeah, maybe somebody doesn't want to pay Carr $50 million a season because that's what it's going to take. And maybe they want to. Maybe they look at their division and they like, we're not going to be competitive here. Whatever. Maybe the Chargers are down on Herbie and they want to give him up for a loot of picks. Like I get to some extent doing that, but when you go publicly talking about we've called every team, we've done this. To me it just felt like a PR campaign. Of just like we're trying to pacify the fans or just we're trying to make it look like we're doing something, but we're not actually doing anything. LP, I think he nailed this, frankly. He was on the Wentz train from early on. Stevie, I think you mentioned it as well, and Razzle too. If he's where you end up on week 1, Carson Wentz is your quarterback, you've upgraded significantly. And that's before we talk about draft. That's before we talk about anything else.
Well, I need you to watch that tone though.
But the problem
significantly
is that
because number for number, Wentz and Heineke had almost an identical season last year, except Wentz had 7 less picks. I'm talking number for number, almost
Seven is
identical.
That's a
seven is a
lot.
large
That's a lot.
number.
7 is a large number.
Who is he
but
throwing to?
How many
Who is he
times did he
throwing to?
overthrow his receiver, his premier receiver? Where it's not just about completions and touchdowns, right? It's also perspective.
It's
being
7
able to
less
identify
picks in a
defenses, not
run-heavy
overthrowing your
offense.
guy. Okay,
I'm
well,
just
fine.
saying,
But
just
if you're gonna poo-poo on him, then he
comparable
also
numbers.
he
I'm not
also lost to
poo-pooing
the
on him.
Jags. He also lost to the
Look,
Jags
I'm
and failed to make the
I'm
playoffs.
not poo-pooing on Wentz. Yes, I mean that was part of my peaks and valleys. I'm not
He
poo-pooing
was
on the
the
Wentz
best.
trade.
Is there anyone realistically better that this team could have brought to town? Minshew. I mean, like who was it going to be? Last year,
look,
Stafford didn't want to come here, right? So, like, who's going to waive their no trade clause to come here? I was never on board. Deshaun would have never made sense either.
I think we have to look at it outside of what name the Commanders ended up with, what QB we ended up with, and we have to look at it more from a strategic draft positioning place, right? So we have the 11th overall pick. Let's say Malik and Pickett or whoever are taken before 11. All of a sudden, our backup plan is destroyed, and then you're stuck with Heineke and what? Somebody even worse than the low budget quality first round picks you have. So getting somebody in a Wentz is a fantastic move. And then as far as the trade capital that we used to get Wentz, if you now have him and you don't have to take a QB at 11, you could essentially take a premier wide receiver. Great. Add him to Terry because who knows what Curtis is going to do. Or even better option, trade back from 11, maybe regain a third round pick or something from a different team. So from a strategic standpoint, as far as this Wentz move goes, aside from the name Wentz and all the ups and downs of him, that's what's bringing me currently to the peak is this makes a football decision, makes sense in a football decision, not fan decision.
Exactly. And that's well, the fans
are dumb.
That's why fans shouldn't make decisions. That's the whole point.
We don't get to make decisions.
Yeah.
Right. But
I was dumb 30 minutes ago.
The team needed somebody that can be the face of the franchise, right? Like you are rebranding the entire franchise.
It's an inaugural season.
Yeah, you need somebody and that's for me why the Deshaun thing never made sense. There's just no way to get behind him, no matter how talented. The city wasn't like, you can't do what you need to do, right? And frankly, this team has stepped in it they got the seal wrong, they got the rollout wrong, they got everything wrong, right? So the fans are going to kill them for this Wentz move. I think it makes sense from a draft perspective. I agree with you, FP. I think they have flexibility. At least they have options now, whereas before you were potentially going to give up more to go up to reach and to get another quarterback. And this franchise has done very poorly drafting quarterbacks. I mean, that's the most recent being Haskins, right? So
10 years to the day. 10 years to the day, we traded all our picks for RG3.
So you got to factor all of that in, right? I mean, and the better quarterback in that draft wasn't RG3, right? So it was the guy that the football guys wanted, not the front office guys or the ownership box. So I'm okay with the Wentz move, right? I think what's lost here, and the reason I don't think they end up moving out of that 11th spot is we got to talk about Brandon Sheriff. We got to talk about the Sheriff. I know they didn't want to tag him a second year in a row, but he's going to walk, and the offensive line, which played okay, they're going to regress now without him. Maybe that's where they go. I mean, they have holes at linebacker too, right? They spent a high draft pick last year on Jamin Davis, and that's not working out properly, right? So they're going to spend another draft pick now on that. Like, how many more draft picks can you throw on the defensive side before you start addressing like real gaps on your offense? But
let's. I don't want to. I'll stop the Debbie Downer on this thing in the sense that they can't address any of that without their commander quarterback. Okay. Now they have their commander. Okay.
Rough.
And so, I mean, it's March 9th or 8th or whatever it is, Joe. I mean, we have to, now's the time to, like FP saying, I would love to trade down, stockpile some draft picks, rebuild that O-line, rebuild the trenches, get a nice cornerback, get a nice receiver to complement Terry. Yeah, that I'm, we're going to withhold judgment for that. But this was the first move. When they saw the dominoes falling with ARod and Russell, they got bullied into this. And like I said, it's not a bad bullying into, but they had to make a move now, or else we would have Jameis Winston on a table on U Street dancing and making it
honestly. And the people that like, you're right. In some of the other options, I mean, Trubisky was talked about going back for weeks and weeks and weeks, but
I was
you know,
high on
Jameis-
Trubisky.
I mean, I would have taken him, right? But like, I didn't want Jameis anywhere near this team. I mean, if Bruce Arians and Sean Payton can't get it done with a guy like, is Ron Rivera really? Is he gonna get it done? Like, that's not gonna happen. Like, I 100% don't want Jameis anywhere near this team. And then the rest, like Nick Foles, like who else was gonna be out there as a free agent or a gettable target? Like, there wasn't gonna be one.
To bring me back to one of the valleys that I had about Carson Wentz, if Frank Wright himself didn't want Wentz anymore, I mean, nobody knows him better than Frank Wright, and the guy gave him up. He was like, "All right, we're done with you. This experiment is over." That's concerning. That the Colts were a playoff contending team with the best rushing attack in the league, and they have now given up their quarterback with nothing in play.
Yeah, but
no
you would agree
replacement in sight.
a third round pick for Wentz is great value if you're the Commander.
But we're missing
It's
the
great
point.
value,
Why did we get him for such great value? Because he put up a stinker against the Jags in week 17 or whatever the final week of the season is now, week 18. That's ridiculous, FP. That one game cost him. What if the Vikings did that when Kirk Cousins stunk it up against the Giants to go to the wild card?
I mean, the Vikings
That's
have
ridiculous.
done it. The Vikings have done it, and they extended him.
And
there's only like 10 good quarterbacks in the league.
My hot take is the Colts go out and get Kirk. Actually, by the way, that's my hot take
Carson
right
Wentz is a better Kirk Cousins.
Carson, no, he's not.
Carson Wentz is a better playmaker version of Kirk Cousins.
All you want, Kirk. No matter how you slice and dice his numbers, he lands in the top 6 or 7 every single time. It does it like every single.
There's
time.
no way.
I'll
bet you last season statistics, he was not the top 10 in QBR.
I mean, I'm in basketball mode now. All right, so like this is I don't know about last year. But
all I'm saying is I'm good with what we paid for Wentz, except for the actual payment, like the $28 million. That hurts a little bit because that essentially erases.
But you're going to pay more.
It erases our chances to chase after like a Bobby Wagner, London Fletcher 2.0, to come in here, solidify that linebacking core.
I mean, I enjoy watching him play, but I don't want him on the team.
You understand that Bobby Wagner is the same age that London Fletcher was when we signed him.
Yes.
So if you got the same productivity out of Bobby Wagner to solidify the middle of that defense, and all of a sudden you don't have the same defensive problems that you had last year, I don't care who's behind center, the team gets 3 to 4 more wins.
I mean, that's a lot. I think the defense has a lot more problems than just middle linebacker.
You put Jamin Davis to the outside. He plays more to his natural talent.
I don't want Jamin Davis on the field. It failed.
I'm just saying.
Move on to the next.
He failed as an inside linebacker.
Well, the name we haven't mentioned that I'm seeing a comment here from Hal 9000 is Jimmy G. I mean, right now, I take Carson Wentz over Jimmy G.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Why would you not want? I mean, I would take Wentz as well.
But again, that's what I'm saying is.
But that's just because Jimmy G has
devalue. Jimmy G went to the NFC Championship. Well, that's great. But that has nothing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, maybe I would want Jimmy G.
Again, Jimmy G would have commanded higher picks and more money.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think I would have wanted if it was one or the other. Jimmy would have been my preference. However, there's no way you're getting Jimmy for a 3rd round pick. Like that's never going to happen. So
if it's this value, you want Jimmy.
Let me ask something though, because I was on Twitter. I was looking at the contract stuff, and I think Grant was making the observation that he's got 3 years left on a contract where the average value is around 26 million per, which is a lot against the cap. But they have a buyout after the first year. So they could really test. Okay. And the second year. So they could test him out for a year. My question is, do we think Carson Wentz is a stopgap for a year or 2? Or is he going to play out the remainder of his contract and even potentially get a second contract from us?
I think if he comes in and he plays like his rookie year in Philly, I think he earns a second contract. Why wouldn't he? It depends on which Carson you get, right?
Right. I think the bigger concern is that we don't do what we did with Alex Smith and immediately extend him and then lock ourselves into some shenanigans. That's what you don't want. Because when we got Alex, we brought him in, boom, $72 million extension, we were locked in. If you keep Wentz now, pay him the $28 million this year, pay him the $26 million next year. Don't lock yourself in. See what happens. Make him earn that extension. Right?
I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted with the comments because 2 NFC championships and a Super Bowl. I love how. I don't know how, but the football is such a team game that to go off of championships and Super Bowls. This is not the NBA where there's 5 guys on a court, 12 guys on a team. There's 53 guys, 22 on the field. The wide receivers are so different. The defense that is on the field half of the time that the QB is not on the field is. I refuse.
I don't know why you're so worked up about it. I mean, the point is,
I don't know. I like Hal, but
I like Hal too, right? But between if the two are available for the same cost, I think Jimmy G is the better value there, right? But there's no way that San Francisco is giving him up for a 3rd round pick. It's not going to happen. Right. It's not going to happen. Yeah.
I'm saying,
as far as extending Wentz, I mean, what if Malik does fall and they can grab him? They should grab him. Right? I personally 100% believe that you should be drafting. I don't care what team you are. You should be drafting a quarterback every single year. Every single year.
This year and next year, get somebody.
7th year. If there's a guy that you like that plays that position that's coming in any draft class, whether you have Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or Carson Wentz, if there's a guy that you like in the draft that plays that position, you should spend a pick and draft that person, put them on your bench, let them learn, do whatever, because it's nearly impossible to find one. So you have 7 picks, 8 picks, and some drafts you're going to have more. Use 1 or 2 of them on a quarterback. I don't know why more teams don't do that. Like, you can't tell me that
every year you should draft a QB.
Yeah. In what world is a backup quarterback less valuable than a project linebacker like Jamin Davis? Let's just be honest, right? So, Wentz, if he comes in here and has a season like he had for the Colts last year, Washington's in the playoffs, right? Because the division is poop, right? If he comes in and does it, Stevie, you had the numbers earlier. I'm sorry I didn't write them down, but if Carson comes in here and leads the team to 10, 11 wins, Washington's going to the playoffs.
Well, that to me seems to be the calculation that Ron Rivera, and do we have a who's the GM?
Ron.
The Herneys.
It's
the Mats.
Or the Martys.
Marty Herney. It's a great name. I think that's the calculation these guys made is you don't need Patrick Mahomes to win the NFC East or a wild card in the NFC right now. So you need a serviceable. We won the division 2 years ago with the compilation of Dwayne Haskins, one-legged Alex Smith, and I think Kyle Allen made an appearance as well. So you can compete in this, and I think Aaron Rodgers made that same calculation by not wanting to go to the AFC as well, is that the NFC right now is wide open. NFC East is terrible. You need a serviceable quarterback. You build up your O-line. You build up the trenches with your D-line. You build a solid team around it, and you compete. You are a brand, for all intents and purposes, this is a new inaugural season franchise that needs to hit the ground running. They need a new stadium, not in Dumfries. They need fans back on board. They need people buying merchandise and jerseys. This is the right move, and a very savvy move, which I think is why we're all so surprised.
But this couldn't have happened before, right? Like, there's no way they do this before Russell gets traded, right? Like, you can't sell.
This is a reactionary move. Yes.
I mean, maybe they had been working on it, but I think you gotta let the fan base, like you said, the fan base yesterday was up in arms over, like, how could you let Russell slip?
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that 2 years in a row, 2 years in a row, 1 year with Stafford.
Embarrassing because they went out there. Yes, but it's embarrassing.
2 years is a pattern.
It's embarrassing because they're out there talking about how they're talking to every team, engaging all this interest. Like, did anyone hear anything from Denver that they were out there just talking to people about who was available? Did their head coach, did their new head coach, or anybody from their organization go publicly, into media week at the Super Bowl and start talking about how they're discussing trade options? Like, only Washington does that. Like, they put their stuff out there, and then they get upset when people throw it back at them and say, like Denver is a professionally run organization. Nobody knew anything about what they were working with Seattle, and they got it done. Yeah. Everybody found out when it was done. Washington approached it the complete opposite way, right? Like 100% the opposite way. Rivera's on his media tour talking about we're talking to every team, and some people think we're ridiculous. Well, I can only imagine what it's like to be one of the Martys on the phone with someone from Kansas City or from the Chargers or from Green Bay, when you call and you cold call and you're basically like, I got your number from the NFL registry of GMs. What is the availability of your stud quarterback?
The problem is we had to do that because we've bungled so many other things that we need to keep the fan base. The fan base won't allow it. We have messed up so many things that we had to go out there on a megaphone and be like, we're trying to get a quarterback.
The fan base fixed the seal, right?
Yes.
The fan base was like, hey, dummies, this is wrong, right? This is wrong.
The fan base fixed it, but the NFL wouldn't let them use Roman numerals. So the NFL,
the no fun league,
middle fingered. Yeah. They middle fingered the team. They're like, no.
But who ultimately is responsible for that disaster? It's not the fans, right?
I mean,
listen, all it did today. See, FP's a real fan. Joe, me and you are jokesters. What it did today is it went from not watching next year to watching next year. And I imagine there's a lot of fans who were not going to tune in to watch Taylor Heineke throw 3-yard dump passes to now I'm going to give him a chance. I'm still not buying no merchandise. I'm still not driving a Dumfries. I'm not going to Raul John, certainly.
Dumfries is better. Raul John, my goodness, what a pull. Dumfries is better than where it is now. Like, why would you not want it on the Virginia side?
No.
Don't get me started on how stupid Dumfries is.
You want it in the city, Joe.
I mean, I agree, but I don't believe that's an option. If it was up to me, I would
go drive on 95 right now without game traffic and tell me how great that commute is. Just go do it right now. Just go drive on 95.
Listen, I don't disagree. But if DC is not an option, I'd prefer it to be on the Virginia side than the Maryland side.
Fair, but that's just because we all hate Maryland.
It's because you live in Virginia. Exactly. You know what else?
But Maryland also has another team in another stadium, like 22 miles north, right? Like it's too close. It's too close.
Again, from a business standpoint, the Virginia side makes sense because you try to pull up the Richmond fans, and that's what you get with Woodbridge and Dumfries. But nobody's coming up. Nobody's making a giant commute to see the Commanders with Wentz take the field. It's not going to happen until wins happen. It's not going to happen until wins happen. No.
I think this is the type of move, just like you're going through peaks and valleys. I think we're going to wake up tomorrow and the narrative is going to be a lot really positive.
Let me bring up two things that LP said that I think are great points. One, why can Wentz not be a Tannehill? Tannehill, for all he was with Jacksonville, was disgusting. Goes to Tennessee, makes it work. Why can Wentz not be a Tannehill? I think he can be, actually.
He can be, sure. His arm strength is there, right? His accuracy may be a little lacking, but he's going to give you the opportunity to evaluate. And I don't want to talk like we're not talking about like full season evaluation here, but he's going to step in at the first practice during OTAs or over the summer, and the receiving core will play better because he's gonna be able to better execute the offense than Taylor. I just believe that. Yeah. I believe he's a better quarterback in every meaningful way than Taylor, with the exception of maybe scrambling or some of the ad-libbing stuff, which, I mean, I'll miss that about Heineke, right? But Heineke will sit there as a backup because, Wentz is likely to get hurt or miss a couple games. Taylor can come in and spell him, here and there. I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be okay.
And then point number 2 is this the best QB that we've given Terry, including Alex Smith and everybody else?
That's a tough one. I think yes.
I'm going to say yes. Yeah.
Outside of maybe the OTAs last summer with Fitzpatrick, for what it's worth. Yeah.
Guys, you both are missing the real point. We are talking probably been 30 minutes now about this. You know what we are not talking about is Dan Snyder trying to creep on some executive in his office, trying to hook up with her. Okay. Congratulations, Dan Snyder. You have once again escaped justice. Okay. And
Wheels it
that's
his
the
way out.
reality of things. I mean, all the temperature was on him to sell, release the report, all this stuff. Now he's got a quarterback. We're such prisoners of the moment. I mean, you obviously,
But
when you look at our
there's such a
current new
strong
situation,
side. There's such a strong side that's going to keep that pressure on him.
I don't know.
FP, you think he's going to sell the team?
I said keep the pressure on him. I didn't say it'll be successful.
No. Keep pressure on you want. Is he going to sell the team before the start of the season?
No.
He would need
And
to
if he
not.
does, if he does, he sells it to Tanya. There's no way Dan Snyder's out of this.
Well, they're sleeping in separate beds, so it's separate bank account.
Somehow he's going to tax loophole all of us, sell it to Tanya, save money, buy another mega yacht. I don't know how Dan Snyder will do it.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. They run everything, but yeah, for sure. Yes. Yeah, I mean,
she's running. I mean, she's pistol whipping him behind closed doors.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think so.
Then you didn't see Claire Underwood. Then
I watched. I watched every season. I enjoyed that show thoroughly. House of Cards. I mean, I enjoyed it thoroughly. But I don't see Dan being forced to sell. You're right. As far as the fans are concerned, the narrative now shifts to how much better is this team? What will they do in the draft now that they don't need a quarterback? I still think they should target one. But you've got a stud, two serviceable running backs. You've got one really good wide receiver. You've got a serviceable tight end, and you've got a defense that, a lot of question marks, but on paper there's still some tradable assets there. Maybe they're not done. Maybe they can get a Wagner. Maybe they can make space somehow. Like maybe they're
Landon Collins.
I mean, what happened to Landon? What happened to him?
He's probably going to get asked to restructure, bitch and whine, and then he'll be gone.
But he did great down the stretch, right? I mean, in his hybrid Buffalo fake linebacker situation, right? I mean, he was fine. I mean, the team today is better, assuming everything clears and Wentz is the quarterback. The team is better than they were yesterday, right? I mean, there's really no. I don't think there's a counter argument to that. I think the Sheriff thing is a big deal. You guys don't seem to care, but I think losing Brandon Sheriff is a big problem.
He's been injured a lot, and the team has filled in his hole well. So I'm not too. I'm happy that we're not overpaying.
Why not franchise him again? Like now that you've got Wentz here, like why? What would stop you from doing it? Right? Like
now that Wentz is here, we can go draft a guard. We can trade with the Saints, drop down to 18, get a guard. Why not?
Are we going to talk about baseball?
There's no baseball.
There's no more baseball season.
It's over.
All right.
We can talk about rumors that John Wall is okay coming back to the Wiz.
Oh, I was going to ask FP how much you paid to fill up your truck.
Ooh, I'm easily at 160.
160?
32-gallon tank premium gas.
160? It might be cheaper to Uber everywhere.
Yeah, brother.
Thankfully, I never leave the house. A tank of gas lasts me a month and a half.
That is a big number. Wow.
What was the price per gallon on that? It was like 5 something.
It's like, that was like $4.95. I think the last time I saw the shell outside my house was like $5.20.
I saw premium. 6 in DC.
Yeah. But when you drive a truck like I do, it's miles per gallon. Nobody cares about miles per gallon.
Yeah, you don't care until your car is declined. Then what happens?
You shouldn't be driving the truck that I drive.
Yeah, it's over. It's game over. I mean, things are going to get really expensive. Stevie, I know you don't have that problem, but have you seen any meaningful change because of gas prices? Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's about to get bad though.
I mean,
there's some strategic blunders happening on a world stage. That
let's leave that for the Stevie and Joe show, because there's a lot to unpack there with your boy Brandon. There's a lot.
I need Chicago Pete with me, okay?
Well, Chicago Pete's blowing up my phone, and your boy Phil from Philly is too. These guys are nonstop. It's like half joking, half like this is a good trade, but like he's trash type comments coming in from Philly fans. So yeah, I mean we're gonna have to deal with it. But They didn't have a shot, and just to kind of bring us full circle here, I mean, they really didn't have a shot at getting Aaron Rodgers. They didn't have a shot at Russ. Deshaun was never going to work. So it was the Jimmy G sweepstakes. I think they did fine. A 3rd-round pick is not much to give up. I don't know what fans would really be upset about, given that they didn't have. I mean, they had to upgrade the quarterback position. They did it. They did it without giving up their 1st-round pick. Yeah, it's not Russell Wilson, but Russell also was that was a lot of picks that they ended up trading, right? Maybe Seattle now tries to make a move for Deshaun. Maybe the Colts do. But I doubt the Texans would trade in their own division. I don't see that happening. But as far as the NFC East is concerned, I mean, Carson is clearly the 2nd best quarterback in the division, right? I mean, that's not debatable. It's Dak and Carson.
That's how he was last time he was in this division. That's the other thing is he's used to this division.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a little bit of history here too, right? And I think we would be really upset, FP, if Carson ends up going to, let's just say he goes to the Giants for a 3rd-round pick, right? This entire conversation would be totally different about like, how could you let him go to your rival in the division for basically nothing? Right?
No, I would have been thankful that the Giants were that stupid to do it and not convinced myself that Wentz was a good sign. I'm very capable of adjusting my fanhood.
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, you're back and forth really quick, really quick. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, it gives us something to talk about, and I think it was a good move. And Stevie, I know you and Matt have been back and forth about this baseball stuff. I don't think we're going to have a season, so I don't really know what we do at this point. I also don't think you need 162, right? How many games do you really need for a season to be, to be worth it or to be meaningful? 100?
Well, I think that last comment's not going to age well in the next 24 to 48 hours. There will be a season. It will not be 162. Deadline was yesterday, pushed to today. It looks like they're close to a deal. I say that with trepidation.
Yeah, they've been close since the beginning, right?
I mean,
what's changed?
Bigger bases. Did everyone see the size of the bases?
I don't understand what that does for the game.
I don't either, but they got rid of the shifts, so you can't shift on defense. These are all little things that the players conceded on, essentially. But the big one is 14-team playoff from 12.
Doesn't that water it down just a bit? I mean, you as a baseball guy, you can't be happy about that.
Oh, come on. You're an NBA fan. You're going to lecture me about watering down the playoffs.
No, the truth is all of the big 4 sports have been watered down to almost a disgusting level.
Course. I mean,
you don't even have fights in hockey anymore.
Yeah, we wanted more games in the NFL, but now you've got trashy teams making it into the playoffs.
Which is fine. It hasn't affected any other league. Has it bothered you to watch a shitty wild card round every year?
No. But
I mean, if the games afterwards stay as well as they were this year,
exactly,
I'm good with it.
What's the shifting business? Like, why not defensive shifting? Like, too many movements?
Make it easier to get hits.
Yeah, but it's part of the game, right? What about starting extra innings with a guy on second? Is that finished?
I think it's done. The pitch clock. I mean, all of these things are meant to.
Yeah.
Well, then Max Scherzer will like to have a word with you because he hates the idea.
So I'm gonna go talk to Giannis. Giannis takes 2 minutes at the free throw line.
Again, though, there's a central thing. I know we're not talking about this today, but the central idea is the owners are trying to make it more exciting, and the players are saying, "Listen, it is what it is. It's baseball. It's a slower game. It's more methodical. It's more numbers based."
Millennials don't have patience for that.
It's not millennials. It's the Gen Z idiots that are changing everything.
I mean, how many games? Well, I don't want to get into it.
I don't consider FP a millennial, even though he's probably the age of millennials.
I'm a millennial. You guys are.
I know, but I don't consider you a millennial.
I'm 35.
You've got thoughts.
Well, he has a job.
He's got a job. He's got thoughts that are not coming from Instagram. Good for you.
Yeah, I would agree.
You're saying THOTS.
Oh, jeez. I don't know. Oh, jeez. Yeah, thick
Different kind of thought. Different kind of thought.
I got an Urban Dictionary, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
That hoe over there. Thought.
I guess maybe he does have a little millennial in it.
I need a dump button. I need a dump button for the show. Let's we'll bring that into the mix here. Okay, final thoughts before we sign off here. Wentz to the Commanders. I like it. I know Stevie likes it. FP, where are you now? Are you up or down at the moment?
We're still at the peak.
Okay, so we're still doing
Still
okay.
at
Are
the
we
peak.
trending down, or we leveled off here a little bit?
If I see what another team gets, the next domino that falls, I need to see what that value is to see if I stay at the peak.
Yeah,
The
if
next
Jimmy G
QB
ends up
domino.
getting traded for like a third and a fourth or something,
Yeah.
then that's a problem. I agree with that. But okay, I mean, we'll see what happens. At least for one day, right? We have a quarterback and something to talk about here, and I would imagine that Heineke is going to be the backup, right? And I think he should be. I mean, he's the guy, and they can get rid of the rest of the bench. And I think they should draft a quarterback. And if their guy is there, whether it's the first round or the fourth round or whatever, they should grab him. I don't know why more teams don't do that. Like you really don't lose anything by having a quarterback on your roster. Even if you can stash him for a year or two, like some of these guys develop a little bit later, but I think you got to take that shot. And one final thing for me, boys, are you buying into some of the hysteria in Arizona right now? Like, do you think Kyler Murray actually gets moved or traded? Or is it just
he stays? He put Cardinals pictures back on his Instagram.
So it's over.
He's staying.
This passive aggressive power move is over.
Exactly.
Talk about there's a millennial for you right there.
That's a millennial move right there.
Yeah. But like the top what outside of ARod, the top 7 QBs I think are all, or the rest of the top 10 are all AFC quarterbacks, and 4 of them potentially, or 3.5 of them are in one division. I mean, AFC West football is going to be crazy. And again, you guys know the Broncos, I secretly kind of keep an eye and keep tabs on that team. I like this move for them. Even if it only gets them 2 or 3 years. I mean, it makes them maybe not contenders, but it makes them interesting. That's a tough division.
I will say Seattle chose 78-year-old Pete Carroll over Russell Wilson. So that is kind of something to keep tabs on.
But he didn't do it without him, and vice versa. So it'll be interesting.
The Patriots chose Belichick over Brady.
Also true.
Yeah.
That didn't work out well for him.
Didn't work out well.
No. Stevie, final thoughts?
Congratulations, Commander fans everywhere, meaning in Richmond, Dumfries, and Potomac.
All 6 of us are so excited today. Yes.
All hail Commander Wentz.
Yes. Welcome to the team, Carson Wentz. FP, thanks for making time. Stevie, thank you for making time on the fly here. It's nice to fire up the mics and get back to it. I think we will be back likely in the next couple of days, probably do another Fallout show. We'll see what else shakes out around the NFL. FP, you and I definitely got to get back in. We got to talk about Backy and Ovi going for 1,000 games together. I think the 9th pair to do that in the history of the NHL. That team, nobody can seem to figure them out. Did they have one more streak in them? I don't know.
They too are currently at a peak. So ride it and enjoy tonight's game while you can.
So you and I, we're going to have to talk a little bit about that. And we got to get LP on here at some point to talk about what's happening around the NBA as well. I mean, the Wizards are a very interesting story continuing to develop, but I think the Capitals, we'll see how that plays out. And hopefully we do get
getting
baseball.
LP.
No, I know.
You stay up past 10:30.
I can't do it, man. I can't do it. But hopefully we can get Matt and Stevie in here too to talk baseball or soon, hopefully. But
let's do it.
For now, thank you for hanging out with us for the last hour or so. His name is Stevie, Mike 2. FP was on Mike 3. My name is Joe. The show is called Defeating the Curse, available on all social media platforms, available wherever you get your podcasts as well. We are proud to be on the Contender Network. Thank you to the Contender Network for carrying the show. Until next time, we are out.